got our East Coast buddy, Mikey Mike, and we got our LA guy, Alphonse Collins, with us tonight.
in his car.
We're
In his
missing
car again.
we're missing Willie, Steamboat Willie tonight. He's a little bit under the weather, but we'll try to manage without him. So how you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Where do we
Doing
start?
well,
There's so
thank
much
you.
crap going on.
Man, I was just reading about
There's
that.
a lot to cover.
I
Yeah.
was just reading about the airplane that went missing.
Oh, the Air Force,
No, the Marine one.
the Marine one, the F-35,
F-30.
or
Yeah. Well, the
I
guy,
think they found it though.
they found it. It was crashed.
Yeah, they found it. The sad part is they had to ask for help from the people to find it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, they did that, but they found it like 60 miles away from where the pilot parachuted out.
Right. So who knows what really happened in that situation?
Yeah, yeah. The only person that can tell you is the witness, and I guess they're probably grilling him right now.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're grilling him. They're not gonna. That's a very expensive plane.
Yeah, like 80 to $100 million.
Yep. And
100 million.
Yeah.
if he
100
bails
million.
and if he bailed before he should have bailed, he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard stuff saying, "Oh, it was the weather," and then I'm going, "Okay, you're in an airplane. You can take the weather." And then I'm hearing, "Oh, maybe a cyber attack," and they're going, "That's bullshit."
Yeah,
So
you never know. You never know. I want to talk a little bit about that police officer or the sheriff that was really executed a couple days ago. And
yeah,
it goes to show you how bad things are, at least in California. I'll speak just for California. That he's sitting at a red light. He's not harassing anybody. He's just doing his job, and somebody pulls up and they just shoot him for no reason. Right?
yeah,
For no reason at all, as far as I'm concerned. Right? And this guy has a history of being an aggressive driver in the area. Thank goodness he is, because that's how they caught him, because somebody recognized the car. But it's sad that a young police officer's life is gone now, because of the site. Because I really truly believe that some people in their mind, they believe they can get away with anything and everything, right?
yeah,
Um, and I don't know if it's nationwide, but I know in California there's a lot of people stealing, hurting other people because they're under the impression that nothing's going to happen to them, right? That they're above the law. Um, and it's a shame that that's where we're at now, right? That people actually believe that and commit the crimes they commit. I mean,
yeah. I had a guy I work with have that happen. He was working a part-time job at a liquor store, sitting in his car, not bothering anybody, and a guy comes up and kills him and takes his gun and runs with it. And then it became a whole big fiasco because they thought it was suspect A, and they raided his house and kind of kicked his butt until they saw the sign on the road said exit next turn, and they stopped. But he uh, he was actually, I guess, innocent, and the guy who they caught was named John McClane. Who is John McClane? Al?
John McClane. That name sounds familiar.
Die Hard.
oh,
Really? The
right,
actor?
that was his name. Yeah,
That was his real name, but they caught him with the gun, and I think another FBI agent lost his life doing surveillance trying to catch him.
you would think, right? I mean, I know a lot of people like to and complain that the police don't respond quick enough, or the sheriffs don't respond quick enough. But I think people fail to understand that we do have a shortage of officers on the streets. We really do,
Definitely.
right? And I think Washington D.C. is a prime example. I don't know if you saw my posting. Um, they're recruiting in Puerto Rico to bring law enforcement guys over to D.C.
Actually, mine that's my department that was doing that, and because we're down like 300 to 350, and we've got like a maximum amount that were allotted to be 1,700. Uh, so yeah, and they've done that before in Puerto Rico. They went down there, they grabbed a few guys that were willing to come over, and they were good guys. I worked with a bunch of them in the Spanish neighborhoods.
But the whole thing is that we have to do that, right? That's the boggling of my mind, right? That we have to go outside to find people that want to do this job because it's a thankless job, number one, right?
Oh yeah.
It's a dangerous job, number two. Um, and you're going to get a lot of love and a lot of hate, right? You're just going to get both. It is what it is, right?
Right.
And most people understand that, but the fact that we can't find enough people that want to do that, LAPD, another example, right? We're offering housing money for people to move here to become LAPD officers, right? Um, it's to a point that it's costing more money just to hire enough people
Oh
than
yeah.
if we didn't if politicians didn't get involved in law enforcement and ruin it for everybody, right? By defunding or reallocating funds or whatever they want to call it, um, changing things around so that people don't want to stay, right? Which is crazy to me. Kind of like the military. We can't find people to join anymore. People don't
Right.
want to do that anymore, right? Um,
Yeah.
at some point, it's going to hurt us.
I think we were offering 77,000 to start, and they had a $5 or $10,000 signing bonus to come out here and do the job. But what I think part of the problem is that you can't find enough qualified people who haven't committed crimes, who haven't used, you know, cocaine on up. I mean, even marijuana is now like, okay, well, how many times did you use it? And now it's legal in the state. So that kind of throws a little kink into everything, also.
Well, it's funny you bring marijuana up because we have to drug test everybody that we hire, right?
Right,
And I get that question. Out of every 10 applicants, six ask me, well, it's legal in California, so I should be okay. Well, yeah, it's legal in California, but it's not legal at a job site.
right.
So you need to drug test. And out of that six out of 10 that admit that, we lose four of them. They won't come back because they don't want to do a drug test, right?
Right.
Because it's legal, right? And I get that it's legal. And again, I don't care what you do in your own time, your personal time. But if you want to work, and my job requires you to at least pass the drug screen initially, then you should be smart enough to say, maybe I need to stop for a while so I can get that job that I want.
Yeah, we started the random drug testing, and it was kind of interesting because the first guy that went in, he was a major. See ya. He was gone. And then when I was in narcotics, I got tested on Monday. Mine was fine. But and then they called me back on Tuesday to take another one. I'm like, hello, you haven't even got the results from the first one yet. You know,
It's just sad that this is where we're at with especially law enforcement, right? Because I'm a big fan of officers, right? I want to be able to sleep at night, and without them, it's difficult to sleep in some neighborhoods at night, right?
oh,
If
definitely.
they're not doing their job in patrolling and the things that they do. And I know they volunteer to do this job. I totally get that, but it's still a tough job to volunteer for. And if they volunteer, they truly want to do it. They understand the positives and the negatives of doing that kind of job.
Well, you hope they want to do it because there's some people that come on and go, "Ooh, there's the money. I'll come down there and do the minimal and try to collect the paycheck." But when I was an acting sergeant, I would tell my guys, "Look, we don't have a quota. However, bring me 3 pieces of paper a night, whether it's a field observation, a traffic ticket, or a warning. So at least I know you're out there doing something." We go by and, I don't even know if they do it anymore. All the businesses in the area, we'd go by to the ones that were in our assigned area, shake the doors front and back to make sure somebody didn't break in.
Right.
And I don't even know if they do that anymore.
No, I don't know. Al, what are your thoughts? Because I know you're a big proponent of law enforcement.
Well, thoughts as far as what?
What's
Hiring?
happening? We'll speak specifically about LAPD.
Well, they need to. They just got a pay raise, so. But they need a district attorney who's going to work with them, so that more people will want to do this job. Because the way it is now, I mean, if the DA is not going to prosecute the criminals, then what? why are the cops? Why would anybody want to be a cop?
Right.
Yeah.
It's sad,
And
you
it's
know.
funny. It's funny you say that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Al.
Well, no, in our West Hills Facebook page, a guy was telling me he's waiting in line to show his receipt at the door. Meanwhile, somebody's walking out the door with a basket full of stuff, and nobody's stopping him. And he's waiting in line to show his receipt.
Yeah.
What's wrong with this picture?
Yeah. You're right. I see that happen all the time whatever store you go to. Right. They're more concerned with the people that are good citizens versus the bad ones.
Right.
Um, and it's
And
funny. I went to a coffee with a cop meeting the other morning, and I live in a city that's got approximately, I don't know, maybe 40,000 people in it. Um, and there was, I think at most, I didn't count, but anywhere between 15 and 25 people went in my whole community, right? Which is a shame because LAPD comes and gives us a briefing on the crime rate, what's happening, what's not happening, um, some of the concerns they have, some of the help they need, and people don't go. Now, I know some people work. I get that part, um, but there's some people that can attend. I mean, there's time in your day, and I know it's early in the morning, um, but they're buying you coffee, so drink it and pay attention, and
Right.
they give you hints on what's happening in the neighborhood. We got a briefing that we had an illegal gambling hangout, that they busted them. It was in a so-called commercial store, and it wasn't really a store. It was a gambling. They
Sure.
had slot machines, all
Wow.
kinds of stuff in there to play, and they busted it on a tip from a resident at the night what is it, police night out event that we had,
Oh, national night out. Yeah.
national night out a couple of months ago or a month ago. They got a hit that night, and then they checked it out. They busted everybody, right? Um, but people can make a difference. But the problem is they have to want to make a difference, right?
Right.
And I think that's the part that's frustrating, at least for me, because I hear a lot of people, this is messed up, this is not good. Well, what are you doing about it? What How are you engaged in this, right?
right,
We can all complain, snivel, whine, curse, whatever we want to do, but what are you doing about it? Right? You can make a difference. You can pick up the trash. I've said that before, right? You walk by trash, pick it up, put it in a container. Or if you see something, say it. Tell the police, hey, this is going on. There's a lot of people driving up and down Foothill Boulevard going 70 miles an hour instead of 40. You know, if we don't speak up, they truly don't know because there's so much going on that they're all over the place. Like
Yep.
they were talking about rapes. There's been an increase in rapes in the Foothill division, right? Um, it went from one last year to six already this year, right? Um, most of those rapes are done by people that they know. They're not even somebody, a criminal out there, just choosing women. Most of the rapes are done by people in Foothill division by people that they know who they're raping. Um, what's wrong with this picture, right? Um,
Right.
we
The-
know there's bad people, so instead of
what
complaining,
wasn't Bill Cosby again, was it?
no, it wasn't him. Thank goodness, though. I don't think he could function at this point in his life anyway, so it's kind of a no-brainer.
yeah. It is funny in this state. I was just reading today that they passed a law, even married people, because if your wife says no, it means
Yeah,
no. And out here, there it's finally becoming a law that you can't do that with your spouse, which I thought it would have been a long time ago. But
right.
Then you never get sex. Then
yeah, well, you would, but you
Just-
might have to pay for it.
Hey, they talked about one case. It was 10 years ago, but now they're going through a divorce and now they're bringing it up, right? Um, so, it goes back to personal responsibility, I think, right? We all want to have a good neighborhood, a clean neighborhood, but we want somebody else to do it for us, right? We don't want to do it because it's going to interfere with our time on a Saturday or a Sunday or early in the morning. Um, I admire. I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of I'm going to say tough moms out there. I went to a meeting last Saturday, um, and I met with a group of moms from the San Fernando Valley. Um, Little Spitfires, all of them, right?
Cool.
Fighting for their kids, right? The sad part is I didn't see a lot of men there, right? So there's a disconnect somewhere, right? Um, and most of them were married, so it wasn't like they come from, they're not divorced from their husbands, but it was mainly women with their kids that morning, which was kind of interesting to me to see that they have a fight, in their heart. They want to do the right thing for their kids. They want to push back against the current leadership that is allowing a lot of this stuff to happen to our kids, right? Because again, this is just Tony speaking. I don't think a child, um, a fifth grade, somebody that's 5 or 6 years old, even 12 or 13, the school should be teaching them about sex at all. That's
Right.
not their job, right? That's a parent's responsibility. So it's concerning to me that that's happening in a lot of schools, and I get the conflict because I know sometimes people are caught between, well, I think you're being prejudiced against this group because you want this to happen with your kid. Well, it's my kid. It's like it's my wife. I'm her husband. Whatever we do is our business, right?
Right.
If I want to go outside, then that's on me, right? If me as a parent, I don't want you teaching my kid about sex, that's my kid. You shouldn't teach my kid that crap, right? And if you're going to teach him that crap or her, then you need to send a letter home saying, I need parental approval to teach this. Right?
That's the way it used to be when I went to school.
Oh yeah.
I
And it was
remember that for anything, even a school trip, you have a slip.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it was done in a heterosexual type relationship. I mean, it
right,
wasn't anything like going outside the lines.
right, right.
And
And again, I think a lot of people, I don't know if it's because they want to appeal to everybody. Look, we're not going to appeal to everybody. Not
yeah,
everybody's going to like us. Not everybody's going to agree with us. But that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why people get worried about, well, that particular group doesn't like me, right? And I'll
I,
give you guys an example. When I was running for Congress, I reached out to an LGBTQ group that was having an event in my park, in my city, and they wouldn't allow me to speak. They only allowed maybe a girl to speak, right? Which, when I say, well, that's kind of, you're being a little prejudiced there. Well,
yeah,
no, because you don't understand what we're going through. I'm like, okay, so public safety is not important to you? Clean parks is not important to you? Homeless is not important to you? So the only thing important to you is LGBTQT. And she said straight out, yeah, that's all I care about. Okay, so we're never going to make inroads with any group if that's their mentality. If they're
yeah.
so close minded and all they want to worry about is their group or their clique, it'll never work. We're just going to continue to spiral out of control. And by the time we recover, it'll be too late. Right?
And like in the '80s, you would see people that were gay, and they would get beat up by people from the outside, and then they'd call the police.
Yeah.
Well, that's it's all connected. You got to have the safety and everything else. I don't care what you do, but you got to have that safety in there.
And people are naive, right? And again, I know Al's not old enough to remember this, um, but back when I was in high school in the 70s, right? Well, 76 to 79, um, I belonged to the disco club in my high school, right? 90% of the people in the disco club were gay. I didn't care, right? I just liked to dance. So
Right?
I joined the club, right? And people ridiculed me, and I really didn't care. I mean, I didn't care then. I definitely don't care now because I just enjoyed dancing. But the perception of people were whoever was in that club was gay, right? And that's how it is now. If you are a conservative, you're a racist pig. If you're a progressive, you're a whack job, right? There's no common sense approach to anything that we do anymore, right? It's
Right.
not, well, okay, so he's LGBTQT. That doesn't mean anything, right? That's his personal life. Do you believe in taking care of our kids? Do you believe in defending our nation? Do you believe in public safety? Do you want to take care of the homeless? I'm pretty sure that if we can all sit down at a round table, we all would agree with that. We're just allowing these elected officials to keep dividing us over and over and over. And at some point, we have to end this. We got to stop the division because we can't keep following people like Newsom, people like Feinstein, Pelosi, um, any of these jerk offs, these Republicans, rhinos that still believe that they have all the answers to everything, that everything has to be their way or no way at all, right?
Right.
At some point, we have to talk to each other and take care of each other instead of continuing attacking people. And I don't like you because you don't have any hair, or I don't like you because you talked to Robert Kennedy Jr. the other day. The things that people say, it's beyond me.
Yeah.
That's
I get the same comments, but I get them, oh, the police don't do anything because, we had an incident out here where one guy was screwing around with a girl in his car, which I'm probably sure you've seen that on the
Yes.
internet because that's been everywhere. And yes, that was my department. But they said, oh, they'd rather be in a park screwing some girl instead of taking calls. I said, look, don't let one bad apple screw up the whole bunch. And I said, if you think you can do the job, sign up. Good benefits, take home car, which the gas is free in. You can use it on or off duty. I said there's a lot of good things to it. And I'd
I
like
think
to see how many people really do.
I think people like to pigeonhole people into certain little groups
They do.
and not really know who you truly are and what you really stand for. I went to the Kennedy event, right?
Yeah,
I listened. I wanted to hear what he had to say, right? Very articulate person. He had a lot to say. He had a lot of regrets, which to me that's a sign of a true leader, right? If
right.
you can think about the things that you did wrong and you know they're wrong and you change your ways, that's great, right?
Sure.
And he talked about the border issue, um, and he said when Biden first did what he did, he was for it. He says, but I went to the border to see what was really going on, and I was wrong. I was wrong. And he said, but a lot of people are wrong about the border because they are under the impression that many people coming through are of Hispanic descent or Latinos. Kennedy said out of the four buses that came through when he was there, only one bus was Latinos. The rest were Africans, Haitians, people from Asia, um,
You're right.
being brought over by the cartel. And he said the crazy
interesting.
part is he said he talked to one father who couldn't afford to pay the cartel the $20,000 per person. So he gave up his daughter so he could come across the border, right? So the cartel takes advantage. He's down at 15 to 20,000 per person. The cartel charges. They have their own buses bringing people to our borders. The
Yeah.
cartel, and we do nothing, right? We keep. Believe me, I'm for closing the border, but let's go after the people that are doing it, not those people trying to cross over. Let's go after the cartel,
And we got them on both sides right now.
right?
We got them on the Mexican side and on our side.
But
And
we need to attack the problem, right?
right.
And sending them back. I understand all that. I get it. Not letting them come in. I get it. But it's going to continue to happen if we don't go after the people doing it,
We ought to treat them like we did the drug cartels.
right? We need to go after them. We got the manpower, right?
Yep.
Let's just do. And he said something that still resonates with me today. Is he says, "I want the fence higher," and I was listening and I'm thinking, okay, what's next? He says, but I want to have gates in the fence. And
I think there are.
he talked about how we used to do it before my time and yours, Mikey, when people went through Ellis Island and
Right.
got checked in. He says we need to do that again, where we bring people in, instead of giving them a court date 7 years down the road when we know they're not going to come back to court, right? Give them an immediate court date, get more judges involved in the process, right? To say, yes, you can come in or no, you can't come in, right?
Right.
And stop charging the outrageous fees that attorneys charge people. Because again, if you go to an attorney in LA, he's gonna charge you 30, 40 grand just to get you your paperwork straight.
And they're going to
For those
disappear and
people
not
coming
go.
in, how many of them can afford that?
None.
Right. So you got to start. The common sense approach is gone. I mean, people aren't using it. I don't know why, but if we know what the problems are, then we need to make sure that we address that. Right. I would address the cartel before I address the illegal aliens. If I was them. That's my opinion. Right.
Yeah.
And he said, we need to do a lot to change the country. We need to, instead of providing weapons for war, maybe help countries like we used to, right? Develop the infrastructure so they become our friends and not like Iran, right? We just give them $6 billion. And what do? The minute they get the money, they get rid of all the inspectors. You can't inspect my plants anymore, right? So we got to have a common sense approach to life, I think. And we have to treat the country like a big family, everybody helping each other out instead of attacking each other. Because
And
it's just
and
a
Biden
circle.
and when Biden sent gets the money, who's he mimicking? Barack Obama when he had that big C-130 full of cash that went over and dropped that off. So we knew who's kind of helping him run the show.
Yeah, and again, and if you think about it, a lot of our problems can be solved with common sense approach.
Sure.
Right? Example: if you're fighting with your wife and you guys don't talk about it, well, you're not going to resolve whatever the issue was, right?
Right.
You're going to end up being that statistic, 50-some% divorce rate because you're not working things out. And that's the problem. We don't want to work things out. We just rather say, well, you're a D, so I'm going to disagree with everything you're saying. Oh, and Tony, you're an R, and I don't like you because you're racist, right? Kind of attitude, and nothing ever gets resolved. Nothing gets accomplished. Everything gets pushed into a closet, and then it explodes, and then we wonder why it exploded, right?
Right.
So it's one of those things that we have to consistently start thinking with common sense approach. And I guess the word normal, but I don't know what normal is anymore. But a common sense approach to all our problems and issues, right? Um, that meeting I went to, Coffee with a Cop, we spent most of the meeting talking about a homeless guy with mental issues, right? Okay, well, he's in the streets. Obviously, he's got a drug problem. He's also got some mental issues. What are we doing to help him, right? I found out that they provided housing for him and he just leaves every day and rather sleep on the street, right? Is there something we can do? Can we lock him up for 72 hours and have a psychiatrist talk to him and maybe help him that way instead of assuming he needs housing when he doesn't?
Yeah.
Um,
Most
maybe
of the time,
maybe
most
he
of
needs
the
to
time
be
when you get the mental people, it is if he is a threat to himself or others, and then we can put the cuffs on him, take him to a hospital, and they'll put him in a psych ward for about 72 hours.
well, we've done that with Patrick numerous times, but again, locking somebody up for 72 hours, that's not going to give. I don't care how good of a shrink you are or a psychologist, enough time to figure out what's going on in this person's head.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's just not enough time. This poor dude, and I say poor because he's lucky to be alive. He's been revived twice with Narcom. Is that what it is? Narcom?
Yeah. That Narcan. Yeah.
Narcan? Twice in the last 2 years, right? Because he does, he, I mean, whatever he can get drugs, he'll do them.
Fentanyl or whatever he's on.
Yeah, so we're just putting band-aids on everything, right? We're not doing anything to fix anything. Like the border. You want to fix it? Go after the cartel. Enough said, right? If you go after the cartel and put them out of business, that'll stop that problem, right?
Yeah. And
But
if
it's
they're on our side of the border with their guns, take them out.
you know what? We have National Guard in every state. We have federal forces in every state, right? Who are probably not doing much, hanging out on the base. That's all they're doing for the most part.
Right.
Put their ass to work. let's do something about the border. You want to stop it? That's how you stop it, right? You put troops on the line, right?
Well, apparently Mexico put troops on the line today, and all they did was stand there and just watch everybody come over. That's what Mexico did. And there was like they got trains that are coming up through Mexico, and they got I think they were up to like 3 or 4 thousand people to just today that came up, and there was another train coming up, and Mexico finally said, "Stop these trains." So
And and,
and
and
they
it's
were
actually funny you talk about the trains because Kennedy had a video showing the train, the people coming on trains.
yeah, and the most of them today were from Venezuela.
It's we have so many things going on that like we don't know what to do first. That's part of the problem, right? Because people are too busy fighting each other over nonsense, right? So to me, like the school thing, to me that's a no-brainer, right? If you have a child in school, that child belongs to the parents. And I don't mean in the literal sense. That's their child. It should be their right to know what's going on in school with their kids. It
Right,
should be their right to say, no, you can't teach that to my kid. Why has it become an issue with if you want parental rights, it means you're against a certain group, which is moronic, right? That's what they make it. The politicians make that.
oh
And
yeah,
people allow the politicians to make that. That's why I hate to listen to them. I was in a meeting the other night, and I talked to Will about this. By the time I left, I was frustrated. I'm like, no wonder the world is screwed up. We got people in leadership positions that only think about themselves. They don't think about the cause and effect to what happens to our kids, to family members, to anything. That's all they care about. We got to win because we don't have enough R's in the house. Well, maybe because the R's are stupid and they're still focused on crap from 1940. You know, maybe because the R's aren't in the street talking to people and saying, "Hey, what are your real concerns? How can I help you?" Maybe
right.
because the R's, when they get elected, they don't tell anybody what's going on, right?
I got a I got a senator, a guy who's running for senate out here because Ben Cardin is leaving,
Mhm.
and I'm on his butt all the time because he takes these pictures with him and all the people he's been hanging around with during the day, but he never goes into the neighborhoods that matter. He goes into all the surrounding neighborhoods that are mostly R rated when you got Baltimore, Prince George's, Montgomery County, and that's where all the Democrats are. So they hold the populace in there, and he just won't go in there. And I told him, I said, look, if you don't go into these neighborhoods, they're mostly all black neighborhoods, I says, and promote yourself in there, guess what? You've already lost. And he don't want to take the advice, so we'll see.
Well, I think a lot of them get caught up because they have somebody from the party telling them what to do, when to do it, and how to do it.
The
Um,
party don't always know.
and this is an admission I made to Will. I didn't realize the process to be endorsed by a party, right? Until I got to witness it. Um, and it's ridiculous. It has nothing to do with what you truly believe in, right? They have a scale, right? You gotta, and I don't know what the percentage is, but the people that were up for endorsement, they had 7 out of 10 things that they agree with at the party. One person had 9 out of 10. So if you don't agree with a certain percent of what the party wants you to follow, they're not going to endorse you. Whether you're the best person for the job or not, they won't endorse you, which is ridiculous to me, right?
Yeah, checking the boxes.
You would think that you want to endorse the person that, since we care so much about the populace, that wants to do the best thing for the populace,
Right.
not the party, for the
People
populace.
people not politics.
Right. And I left there after 3.5 hours thinking, what the fuck? Right. Um, I get why you want their endorsement, but I don't get that it's not good. You're not endorsing the best person. You're endorsing the person that agrees with you the most. And sometimes that's not the best person. Right? It's
Right.
just not. Right. And that's the part that drove me nuts that night that I sat there going, wow, this is how it really is. Welcome to politics, Tony. Welcome to politics. Um,
Yep.
I am not going to change who I am. Um,
No.
that's for sure. You know, if I end up getting their endorsement, great. And if I don't really care, right?
You got mine.
Because I am not going to change what I believe in um, just to get elected to a political office. That's just not
Right.
going to work. That's not me. Number one.
It's just the people got to wake up and smell the coffee,
And,
to see what's really going on around them and pay attention to what's going on.
and we have to tell them. I mean, people really don't know, right? It's like that abortion bill. I think it's AB 1159. I think I don't even know anymore. Um, if you look at the title, you think it's just for abortions. If you read the whole bill, towards the end of the bill, the little rider they have in there talks about kids 12 years old making decisions for themselves. And if the parents don't affirm it, the government can take your kid and put them in a home, right? Which to me is ridiculous. But people don't read, they read the title of the bill, they think it's just about abortion, and
Sure.
it's not. And it's at the governor's desk to be signed, right? Now,
They'll sign it.
is the governor going to sign it? Well, there's a federal injunction on it right now, so he can't sign it just yet. But it got approved to get today, the injunction. So he can't sign it yet, but people need to know what are in these bills. And I know it's hard because it's 500 pages worth of nonsense. But the people they elect should be able to tell their constituents, hey, there's a bill. Don't get caught up on the title. These are the bullet points of that bill so that people know, so they can pick up the phone and call their representative and say, hey, don't vote for that butthead, or I'm going to vote you out of office, right?
Right.
Those are the kind of things that people need to demand from the people they vote for. You need to tell me whatever bill, whether it's small or big, what's happening so I can support you when you need my help to call other politicians and tell them, you better not vote for that, right? That's the problem. That information is not shared with the public, and the public is busy. And if you represent me, I expect you to tell me what's happening. Hey, constituent, there's a bill that Scott Wiener is pushing through. And this is the title. Don't get caught up on the title. Here are the bullets on the bill so that you can get some idea of what the bill is truly about.
And
Um,
pass it on to your friends.
and if you do that, people will spread the word. If they feel like you give a damn about them, they'll care. They'll support you. But if they feel like you're just another asswipe politician who doesn't care, who's there to make more money and that's it, you're not going to get their support. But part of the problem is people choose these politicians because they're looking for a leader, and a leader needs people, and politicians can't do it alone. So if we don't push them and do our due diligence with them, there's only so much they can do. And I know that. Kind of like a law enforcement officer,
Yeah.
there's only so much they can do without our help, right? We got to help them. We got to protect them. I put up posting today. I stole it. I stole it from one of my friends about officers. Right. If you need to take a break, you can park in my driveway. If you need a cup of coffee, I'll give you a cup of coffee. If you need to vent, you can vent in front of me. No, no harm, no foul. Right. Because sometimes I think we forget that officers are people. We assume they're freaking robots, and they're not robots. They have feelings, they have emotions, they have concerns. And a lot of times they can't tell you what their concerns are. So if you can give somebody a break, give that poor guy in blue a break and girl a break and let them hang out for a minute, to de-stress. Or I don't know, take a lunch break in front of your house. I don't care. Come into the house if I'm there, right? Same thing with politicians. And I hate that word, so I'll use public servants. Same thing with our public servants. There's a lot in their head. And sometimes we just need to nudge them a little and say, hey, I need you to do this for me.
And
Because they forget, because they're so caught up with so many other issues. You got to remind them.
There's a group out there now that I met at Police Week Copline, and this is made. It's an organization that's made for the police who can call and talk to retired officers who've been in their situation to kind of help decompress or kind of help them adjust to whatever issue it is that they're going through, because we've all been through something, you know. But it's a good organization.
You know that. I'm going to look to see if we have one here because that's a great idea.
Well, this is a national one.
The national one, okay,
Yeah.
that is a
Uh,
great idea. I
for
mean,
It's for post traumatic stress these guys might get from doing the job. You get involved in a shooting, you may want to talk to somebody about why you can't sleep, or what keeps going through your mind. Should I have pulled the trigger? Should I have not pulled the trigger? Should I have? I kind of went through that when I had a guy come at me with a knife, and I didn't shoot him, but I had enough sense to know that I had time and distance between me,
right.
because he was on one side of a car and I was on another one, and he's not going to get me over that way. But I had my weapon out just in case. But if you go through those things, you'll say, should I have shot the guy? Shouldn't I have shot the guy? You kind of question yourself.
Well, and you're talking to somebody that did that kind of work and they understand, right?
Exactly.
It's like a veteran coming back from a war. If you've
Exactly.
never been in war, you don't understand what they're going through
Right.
in their mind, right? Even if you've been to war, you might not understand if you don't have the same issue, right?
Right.
Everybody deals with it differently. I mean, think about this number. I think it's every 22 minutes a military guy commits suicide, right? A
Yeah.
veteran, right? Which is crazy to me, right? Because I spent 25 and a half years of my life with those guys. And,
Right.
and and I don't think like that, right? But some people do. And they're afraid to talk because if they tell somebody, people will think less of them. Or you're not a warrior, or you're not a real cop, or
Right.
and I think people need to understand us as parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, we all make mistakes with our kids, right? We all do. It is what it is, right? But as long as you learn from that mistake, being a parent is not rock. It's not something that there's a manual that, hey, you do this, you do that. We all have different issues in our families. And being a parent is hard work. You're not going to make all the right decisions all the time. So don't feel bad if you don't. Feel bad if you keep making the same stupid decisions, then that's a different story.
Right.
But you know, life isn't perfect. We don't it's not cookie cut. I mean, it's nothing like that.
It's a
Life
work
is
in
hard.
progress.
You have to work, kind of like being married, right? It's not
Yep.
happy every day, right? It's just not. There's a lot of ups and downs, but it's what you do with those downs that matter, right? Because
Right.
when you're up, you don't have to worry about anything. When you're down is when you have to pull up your bootstraps and figure out what's wrong. Even in friendships, right? I've lost quite a few friends because of my political views, right? And I've tried to reach out to them, and they don't want to
I know
mend
the
fences, right? Because Tony, I didn't realize that you're a racist. When I'm not, but I didn't realize you're a Republican. Well, because I didn't discuss it. It just
yeah.
it is what it is, right? If you know me, yeah, I have an R next to my name, but I'm kind of a guy in the middle. Right? I believe in talking to people. I believe in coming to terms and looking at the big picture. What benefits all of us versus what
Right.
benefits a particular group, right? That's just me, right?
This
Um,
is people over politics.
and
You
and
know,
it sounds so simple, but we struggle in our country, don't we?
we do.
We struggle with it because, well, we need to convict Biden. We need to convict Trump. We need to go after Hunter. It's like being in junior high school in the locker room fighting over a girl. Stupid, right? At some point we just need to say, Hunter, that's a civilian thing. Go to court and whatever happens, happens. Let the
Right.
judicial system handle that. Attacking each other like we do makes no sense because all it does is continues the divide. Right? That's never good. If we keep doing the things the way we're doing, things are going to continue to get divided more and more and more. There's going to be more and more cliques because people are going to get butthurt over the clique they used to belong to, right? Oh, you don't support me, or hey, you're not a Christian, So you can't be a Republican because only Christians can be Republicans, right?
which is kind of funny because I looked at a picture of my new police chief, and he had his hand on the book when he was swearing in, and it was green with gold trim. And I sent him a little text message, and he's a good guy. And I said, I have that same book upstairs because I was curious about the religion. Assalamu alaikum.
Right.
And so I knew what it was. And he said, he just told me, he said, Mike, you are one guy full of knowledge. Because nobody would really pick up on that.
Right.
You would assume it's a Bible.
Right. Well, again, it's because everybody has this attitude that you have to be exactly like they are, right?
Right,
You
right,
can't be an individual. You can't, do things your way. If you don't, if you don't practice this religion, then you can't be that. Or if you're a Catholic, you can't be that. That's all nonsense, right? At the end of the
right,
day, it's all nonsense. Doesn't matter what church I go to, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter my sexual preference. It doesn't matter the color of my skin. All that matters is how I treat people,
exactly.
right? It doesn't, nothing else really matters. You could be pink for all I care. If we get along, we can just get along. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. I mean,
It shouldn't matter.
I'll go into a grocery store and I'll see a guy that's got a retired Air Force hat on, and I'll go up and I'll say, I mean, I don't know the guy, and I'll say, hey, thank you for your service. And he's like, oh, were you in the military? No, I wasn't in the military. I was in law enforcement. And I've actually got a Marine t shirt that I wore into the store one day. And the guy says, thank you, Devil Dog. And I was like, it wasn't in the service, but I support all you guys that are and were. So, we all get along. We find that common ground where
I
we
think,
all respect each other. And that's the name of the game,
I think that's kind of where we've gone sideways. Is I
right?
think people lost respect for each other, um, because of outside influences, right?
Yep,
Kind of like, bring, when BLM started. Now, in concept, what BLM portrayed, Black lives do matter, like everybody else's life matter, right?
exactly.
But they took it to that extreme where it became a
The
white against
racial,
black issue, right?
right,
Instead of, you want to support African Americans, then do it with action, right? With
right,
action, not violence, with action. And as we now know, they didn't do any of that, right? They didn't help anybody out except themselves, right? Kind of like Antifa, right? Now they're big supporters of LGBTQT. How the hell did that happen, right? Right? Who knows? So now when you think about LGBTQT, the first thing that comes into my mind, because I've been to a couple of protests, is Antifa's going to be there, right? Whether it's true or not. Perception is everything, right? And they want us to
yep,
perceive things that anybody LGBTQT is against whatever issues or concern, educating our kids. I was at a march where we had LGBTQ people supporting parental rights, but you don't hear that.
right.
You don't hear that part. You hear the LGBTQ people with Antifa on the other side against parental rights, right? So the system has even been able to break up the LGBTQ community into two separate entities now, maybe three or four by now. I don't even know, right?
Right.
We believe the nonsense that the media prints or talks about instead of going straight to the source, and figure out what's really true or not.
Hey,
And I'm
Tony.
telling you, I think there was 200 people in LA, and I would say about 30 to 40 were LGBTQT.
Hey,
And
Tony.
they weren't shy about it. They said they were LGBTQT and they were there to support parental rights.
I think I heard Steve vote Willie here.
Oh, can you talk?
Not really.
No.
All I want to say is hashtag Trump 2024.
Of
Yes,
course you would say that.
and of course he was in. Yeah, his son got hacked on the X file, which used to be Twitter,
Right.
and saying he was dead. Well, I saw him today in Iowa. He went into a bar on his after his first speech, and this place was packed on the inside and outside, and he was giving out pizzas to everybody, and the crowd was crazy. It was in Iowa.
Wow.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
well, speaking of Will's lover, Trump, um, the polls came out, and Vivek is making a run into that second spot. He's not too far behind from DeSantis.
yeah. And he's got our Maryland GOP out here has got him for a Lincoln dinner. They're going to have
Wow.
Vivek out here for that. So I'm like, okay,
DeSantis has lost all kinds of steam.
yeah, yeah. I think he said he's like 40 or 50 points above him now.
Oh yeah, Trump is. Yeah, he's way out there. He's
Yeah,
way out.
rocking the Casbah.
And since we're talking about him, we all saw that he went to South Dakota, and
Yep.
gave his little speech, right?
Oh yeah.
And the rumors started to swirl quickly that Noam was going to be his pick, and as soon as that rumor started, the attacks on Christy Noam began.
Of course.
I wonder who started that rumor.
Was it
Who
you,
could
Al?
that have been?
Yeah, about Lewandowski being at Mar-a-Lago hitting on him. Or
Right.
hitting on her.
So this is, and I bring this up because this is how pathetic we are
Yeah.
as a nation, right? That, like, I don't care if Christy Noam had an affair with him or not. I don't care.
Right. Doesn't
It's nobody's business, right?
she's
She's
doing
still
her
married
job.
to her husband. So obviously, if they had an affair, he's still married. It's on him, right?
Yep.
So bringing that crap up to discredit her, to me, was a low blow.
Oh yeah. And did you watch Meet the Press where they asked about the VP position and they said, would you think about a female? He said, oh, I'm definitely thinking about a female. And they mentioned Christy Gnomes, and he says, she's got me really thinking.
Uh-huh.
So kind of
But
laid it out. His subtle hints.
yeah, it's subtle. But what bothered me was the attacks on Christy Noem.
Oh,
Let's attack her policies. Let's attack her political life. Why do we
yeah.
want to drag her family into all this? You
Yeah.
know, to discourage her from. You already brought it out, so now even if it was a family secret, everybody freaking knows, right? So just let's attack her on policies, right? If you're running for office, I don't care what you did yesterday. I want to
Yeah.
know what you're doing for me today and tomorrow, and I
Now,
want to know what your politics and your views are, and what you're going to do to make things better for me. That's all I care about.
and I think she would because she's been a governor, she's been a congressperson. She's got the backing of everybody that's in her state.
It's just, to me, and I know they've done it forever. They did it with Billy Clinton. They've done it in the past, um, but
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
he had a cigar though.
A good
It's-
cigar, a good soaked cigar.
Yeah.
Is all- just look at
Yeah.
look at Will Papa Smurf here.
it's a robusto.
Hey, Papa Smurf is down under the weather today.
Yeah.
So
Even
anybody saw any part of the hearings today with Mr. Garland?
No,
Yeah.
I missed them.
Yeah, I saw part of it.
Another cluster, right? I mean,
It's all political, guys. You know it. You know it's true.
It was the only part I saw, and I remembered it because I was listening to it on the radio, is when he said, "Well, I didn't notify Mr. Biden." That's not saying one of his flunkies didn't. That's that lawyer talk. I didn't do it.
the sad part is, right? This is where we're at, right? This is where we're at. We're just slinging shit at everybody, right? That's
Oh,
all
yeah.
we're doing, right? We're not even thinking about the nation. We're not thinking about the people. We're worried about some shit that we really aren't going to be able to prove anything anyway, right? So we're going to waste taxpayers' dollars on something that nothing's going to come out of it. Nothing. Right? We could use that money to help people. Just saying. I know that we could use that in my neighborhood to put on more traffic lights and maybe some speed bumps so assholes don't drive 80 miles an hour down Foothill Boulevard.
Right.
Right? There's some things we can do with that money we're wasting on impeachment, whatever they want to call it. Um, it's time that people push back and demand that the government do what they want to do. The government, the people should be running this, not these politicians, right? We can't get my council person, Monica Rodriguez, to come to any event, but we can get her to throw a freaking party in Pacoima and call it El Grito and want everybody there, right?
Yeah.
But she won't come out to do real work like, hey, constituents, tell me what's wrong, right? She won't even let the neighborhood council use her office like she used to have the neighborhood council meetings. They got to have it at an elementary school because she won't allow it because she doesn't give a shit. That's the truth, right? I don't care what anybody tells me. Monica Rodriguez is a worthless human being.
She's a
Monica,
bitch.
yes, I said it again, Monica. You're worthless, right?
No relation to Tony Rodriguez.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. And if she was, she would be disowned by now because she doesn't care. I hate people that don't care and pretend to care. Right? That's what I don't like.
Get your hands dirty. Get out there.
If you don't care, that's fine. Don't pretend. Don't
Right.
pretend you care when
And
you don't.
if you think you care and you don't, what's Donald Trump's old favorite line? You're fired.
Yeah. The sad part is because of the area she has, she gets voted in, right? She's a local girl from Pacoima who went to the local high school, who pretends to give a shit, and people buy into that madness. That's all.
Oh, I know. I
People
see
buy
how
into
you. Yep.
You
Hey,
know,
Tony, wait,
yes, sir.
just one more thing. To Facebook, I won.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, he put a little political thing up with a Trump and Nome, and they said, "Oh, we got to suspend you for 128 days." And he wrote a rebuttal to it, and they said, "Sorry, we made a mistake." And they said, "All your stuff's back on, and you've been unrestricted."
Gives a whole new meaning to fisting.
Yeah.
Only you will. Only you. You know, I think our job is to make sure that people know what's really happening, um, even if it's a small group of 4 or 5 moms, because those 4 or 5 moms can take that message somewhere else. And I say moms because they're the little pit bulls out there. They're the ones that are going to go that extra mile to fight for what's right,
And
whether
that's
it's their kids, whether it's for law enforcement, whether it's to get rid of the no nonsense public servants, right? We need to get rid of a lot of these people. You know what? If you don't show anything in 2 years, then we shouldn't reelect you. Get out. We need to find somebody else. Get out,
yep,
right? If you don't do your due diligence, if you have to campaign hard to get reelected, that means you didn't do your job.
right.
You didn't do your job, right? And if you didn't do your job, I don't want you there, right?
And we don't want to hear the I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. Give me the plan. How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? Show me the plan. Don't tell me you're going to, like, I'm going to get term limits. Well, you're not going to get term limits because it's got to go through a whole lot more people than just you.
Well, and I think, and I posted this a couple of days ago, and I'm reposting it constantly. Is elected officials owe us an explanation every quarterly on what's going on, right? Whether it's Zoom or a meeting, a local meeting, they owe us that every quarter. Tell me what you've done for us. And if you haven't done anything for us, why not? Right? We need to know what you're doing constantly. And you need to, not that they need to dummy it down. I want bullet comments on what's going on. What bills are in the oven that you guys are about to push. I need to know, right? I don't want to find out the day before Newsom is going to sign a bill. Oh, he's signing this bill that's going to say kids 12 years or older can cut off their breast, or they can cut off their penis, or they don't have to tell their parents what they want to do. And if their parents disagree, I'm going to take them away from the parents. That's not what I mean. I
Right.
mean, tell me what's going on now so I can join the fight, because not one elected official can do what is required of them without our help. And if a politician tells you that he or she can do everything, they're full of shit.
Exactly.
They can't do anything without us. They need our help as much as we need their help. We need to do this together, not separate. That doesn't work.
Hey
That's
Tony, you just said a fucking bad word.
I know. I can't help it. I can't help it. I get carried away.
and we are at the top of the hour.
Yep. Hey guys, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. Will, I hope you feel better. Drink a lot of honey, eat it, do whatever you got to do. Al, thank you for being here.
Of course.
Mikey, I appreciate you more than you guys will ever know. Thank you, everybody in Los Angeles. And remember, I am running for California Assembly District 44. It encompasses La Crescenta, Glendale, Burbank, Sunland, and Tahunga. It's time to make a difference. I need your help to make a difference. Check me out. Follow me on social media. I'm very honest and upfront. I will not lie to you. I speak my mind, and some of my words are kind of vulgar, but I'm here to protect you.
And what's that website?
It's Tony, the number 4, California.us.
You got it.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.